My long-awaited book, Astrology Realized, is finally available and waiting for you at Amazon and other online retailers. Get one for you, your loved one, or as a gift. All part of your fabulous journey to understanding astrology. Enjoy. Hello, fabulous Aries. Welcome to your horoscope for 2014. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. This year, we have Mars, your ruling planet, doing something very interesting that he likes to do from time to time. Now, I've said before in the monthly horoscopes, you always, for every sign, you want to watch what your ruling planet is doing. Because your ruling planet is your representation in the sky. And so however your ruling planet is speaking to other celestial bodies out there, you want to pay attention because it's going to speak something to you, your journey ahead, your journey now, and your lessons. This year, Mars is going to spend a huge chunk of time right from the word go. Actually, just before the word go, from the 30th of December right into July in a single sign. And that sign is your opposite sign, Libra. Now, just Mars hanging out in a single sign would be a big deal for you. And the reason Mars is doing that, instead of spending just 6 weeks in a sign, hanging out for such an extended period, is because Mars is going to do his little retro thing, which he does every couple of years or so. And this is when Mars goes direct. And then he goes back and traces a few of his steps, and then he decides to go direct again and trace those steps again. So what Mars is essentially doing is walking the same path 3 times instead of his usual just one go that you see on any other given day or any other given period. This makes the lessons of Mars in your opposite sign especially significant. Now think about it, opposite sign, right? Opposites attract, opposite perspectives, opposite viewpoints. Those are all the things you're going to be considering. But more than that, the thing with your ruling planet moving through your opposite signs is that you have to consider other people, and that it really is other people who tend to trigger some lessons. And because of the nature of this conversation, it does suggest that, especially for the first half of the year, you are really examining a lot of what you've attracted into your life, people, places, things, situations. But a lot of times these awarenesses are going to come up because, in all honesty, you are going to have your buttons pressed. Now, you can decide to enjoy this, and that's what I find most promising. You are the sign of the adrenaline rush after all, and this year, especially the first half of the year, promises many, many opportunities to experience that very adrenaline rush, sometimes very dramatically, and a lot of times very surprisingly. Now, how are you going to handle that, and how are you going to deal with that? You've got Uranus still moving through your own sign and will be throughout this decade, throughout most of this decade. And Mars speaking to Uranus in your sign is promising that a lot of these adrenaline rush moments are going to come up rather suddenly. And really the point of all this is for you to acknowledge a couple of things. One is where your power is and where it is that you can take action to move your life forward. Because ultimately that is a really big life lesson that you have for you. And the more that you master this lesson, the more you become self-possessed, the more you stand within yourself, within your own skin, within your own sense of peace and power within you and within your own heart and mind. This year brings you a crash course and the promise, or at least the opportunity, to gain leaps and bounds in these very lessons. The lessons have to do with you acknowledging where you have power and where you don't. I'm reminded of the serenity prayer, a very well used serenity prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept what I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Mars deciding to move back and forth, well, forth and back, and then forth again, suggests that you are going to have to really get comfortable with experiencing some very dramatic emotions, sometimes out of the blue, And you're also going to have to get comfortable with this very lesson and the process in which you are in as part of mastering this lesson. Once we get you into the second half of the year, the energy changes so dramatically. Really, I see you waking up one day in July and just having a huge exhale. Like you can't believe you just walked that, whatever that was, and whatever those lessons were for you. The other thing, though, I do have to mention with this is that just when you think one lesson is mastered, another one may come up, but it's actually the same lesson. And so just be mindful not to trick yourself, and be mindful that people are actually your friend, even when it doesn't seem like that on the surface, because they're helping you to acknowledge where your power is. Ultimately, as I said, this is a force of change. This is a force of getting you in touch with what is no longer acceptable in your life and where it is that you know you can be better, and taking action in support of that. You are making some very dramatic changes. The first half, lots of emotions, lots of adrenaline. You don't always know what to do with it, but you're mastering a very deep and spiritual lesson. As I said, the Serenity Prayer lesson. But it really is once we get you into the second half of the year that you understand that your happiness is in your own hands. Your happiness is your responsibility. You start to feel a little bit more calm, and you start to make sense of some of the really dramatic stuff that you go through in the first half. And once you start making sense of it, then you start to tap into the power. And it's not that you aren't doing that along the way anyways, but what's really, really special is that once we get you into the second half of the year, on one hand, yes, you are able to operate from a greater sense of peace and implement some of those lessons. But those lessons actually increase your prosperity. They actually help you to become wealthier. And you end the year on definitely a wealthier note. You are being encouraged to trust yourself and to know yourself. Trust the path, even when it seems uncertain, even when it seems like it's going all over the place and people are coming at you and you don't know how they're going to be based on who they've been before and now they're acting so out of character. Trust it. As people are operating, they are doing so for your highest good. And your highest good really is to come to terms with yourself and just how much power you do have, but also where you don't. You find peace in that, you find clarity in that, you're going to find the way to a greater peace within your own heart, but also the way to more wealth than you've known before.